Welcome to The Mountain Gardener with your host, Ken Lane. Gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and local advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome your host, Ken Lane.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Gardener, your host, Ken Lane, here talking about the landscapes of northern Arizona. And the rains, is anyone else tired of the rain besides me? Am I allowed to even say that in Arizona? But humidity, I don't want any more. So it looks like we're in for a bit of a dry out, which would be nice. We are seeing just a touch of overwater stress on some of the plants coming in. A couple deaths I've seen this week, but mainly it's just some leaves are spotting. Here's what happens when plants get too much rain. In addition to or supplementing your irrigation and rain both, sometimes you can actually overwater your plants and they'll stress out on you. They'll start to turn yellow. They'll shed some leaves. They'll stop flowering. They just have this, they can get spotting on the leaves. And so we're seeing a lot of mildew happening. So this powdery white coating on the foliage. Those are all indications of it's just been really wet, humid. So Arizona plants like to dry out in between their water cycles, their water rain events. And so you'll see this. What happens is the soil will load up with moisture. You fill up all the air pockets in the soil with water molecules, and the plants, they're rooting out. They can't breathe. Roots must breathe. They must have oxygen. It'd be like holding your little puppy dog down underneath the pool for 10 minutes straight. It's that effect on a tree, only it takes a little bit longer for that plant to literally drown. And so you'll see your evergreens. They'll just turn brown and just shed their needles like that, just all at once. The damage was done 2-3 weeks, months ago, but it just gave up the ghost and went, I'm done, and just sheds all of its foliage. And so kind of watch that. I've been watering our landscapes about once a week. And I've got a lot of new plants, but about once a week seems to do it. Some of the native established things I've backed off to every 10, 14 days. It just depends on how mature the plants were. So you need to play with your irrigation. You can't set it once and you're done. You got to actually tweak it because of the way our water cycle, our monsoon rains, the moisture hits the mountains of Arizona. It just hits all at once between August and September. And then it will dry out, and we may not see moisture. Remember last year, those of you that kind of wintered with us last year, remember the last rain was in November, and we didn't see another rain event, at least here in the Prescott area, which I would assume most of us are similar. The last rain event in November, and then it didn't rain again until June. We had a hurricane come up from Mexico and dump on us, and then it really didn't rain again until the monsoon pattern started the 1st of July, which is more normal for us. Usually, almost always, we have a moisture event midwinter, usually end of February. March is generally a wet month for us. But I've seen, I've been snowmobiling in Prescott in November. You just never quite know how much moisture we're going to see. It's intermittent. So kind of watch that. You want to tweak your irrigation. And then also, we've had some tremendous plantings. Those of you that have been into Waters Garden Center this week and bought big landscapes. Like we're going to plant these large, like full on the whole front yard. Thank you. If you're doing that, it's a great time to be planting, but you'll need to remember that water cycle. If we have an event like we did last winter, rained in November and then no more moisture through winter, you're going to have to supplement some watering for those new plants. Not very much. Just give it a good dose a couple times a month. If we happen to have a snow event, if we happen to have some winter rains, you can back one of those off, but at least once a month. You want to water through winter. So plant now. It's a great time. You'll get a flush of new growth in through the fall of roots. You'll get a flush of roots. And then you'll get another flush of roots next spring. So it really makes for a robust plant. next summer, which is the hardest months. June is your difficult month to grow things. That's when you're really challenged. But right now, you'll get more root mass underneath that plant by planting now than you would by waiting till next spring, where you'd only have half the root mass. So that's something to kind of watch. It's just if you're planting in the autumn, tremendous time, just make sure you water through winter a couple times a month. It's that simple. If you turn your irrigation off and then you don't even think about your landscape for 6 months, you're going to have some death and decay. I don't care if it's brand new plants or established old plants. I think a lot of this Leland cypress canker it's taking out a lot of the Leland cypress. I think a lot of that was accentuated by last year. If you didn't water and keep those plants healthy, you're really struggling to keep those plants alive right now because this canker, its disease, got established and it's wiping out entire rows of Leland cypress. So keep your plants healthy. Now, if your plants are turning yellow too soon, so I'm seeing some maples turn too soon, some aspens. Believe it or not, you can overwater an aspen. I mean, they're a native Arizona plant. They're used to our cycle, but if they load up with moisture at their root zone, they actually will turn color and shut down. They're going, I am just too stressed out. I am not feeling good. I'm going to put myself to bed. And so they just check out early, and they hope that they will dry out and be able to recuperate next spring. So if you're seeing that, your plants are turning fall color too soon. It's not fall yet. We still got a month to go. Some plants, 2 months. I mean, a long time before we're seeing any kind of autumn colors showing up. If you're seeing that show up earlier than your neighbors, that's because it got too wet. Or the most likely right now with all the moisture is it was too moist. And so it's stressed out, so it's checking out. It could be grubs, something obscure, but now we're into the 1-2% of problems. It could be the 90% it was probably got too wet. With our heavy clay soils, it stayed too moist, and so it's turning colors early. It's shedding some leaves early. It's got spotting on the leaves. The tips will turn black or brown. Those are all indications I'm just wet. And this soil is staying too moist for me, so watch my irrigation. So that's one. Back your irrigation off. Hit the skip cycle if you see some rain. So anyway, we've got a lot in store for you this show. Right now, it's the Javelina. Oh, the Javelina are wreaking havoc on the gardens. So if you didn't fence them out, or if you're planting and they come in, these wild pigs, at almost all elevations. As a kid, we never really had Javelina up in the mountains in Prescott. I'm a hunter, so outdoorsman. I'd go down to New River or Congress. They were always at that high desert area. Well, they've made their way up to pretty much most of Arizona, and they're spreading more. These herds of 10, 15, 20 pigs, hogs coming in, and they root up or they rototill your gardens. Sometimes you'll plant a new thing that they don't even like. They're interested in the soil underneath that new planting. They notice animals in your landscape. They notice new things in their environment. They're going, whoa, well, that's new. I went over there last night, Bob. Hey, let's go check it out, see what's going on. And they'll go root up to see what's underneath the roots. Sometimes I think they just like to have fun. They'll rip it up and throw it up in the air. They'll tromp on it. They'll pass the baton going, hey, you try this. This is fun. They don't eat it. They just are destroying things. So I've got some tips this show. Probably at maybe the bottom of the hour, we'll start segment 5. We'll get into plants the Javelina don't eat, which is also going to be plants that the rabbits, not so much pack rats, but deer, rabbits, Javelina, antelope, they probably don't eat either. So we'll hone in specifically on Javelina. And then I've had some pack rat issues. I'll probably cover that one too. So a lot in store. We've got Lisa Waterslane coming into the studio with your garden questions. We'll see what's up with that. We'll be right back with more on The Mountain Gardener.
You've been listening to The Mountain Gardener with Ken Lane, owner of Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Join him every week for timely garden advice right for the gardens. Visit Ken where he can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center in Prescott.
Water's Garden companion plants for September are Raywood ash, Russian sage, honeysuckle, and ivory feathers pampas grass.
Ivory feathers is a dwarf pampas grass that blends perfectly into desert landscapes.
The ivory plumes reach over head height for architectural style around patios and ponds.
Well suited as a visual barrier or hedge in the far reaches of the yard.
You will find only the brightest grasses here at Water's Garden Center.
Shop in-store or online at watersgardencenter.com.
We believe your garden should be natural, safe, and organic. At Waters Garden Center,
Gardening and you don't know where to start?
Water's in-home garden service comes to you and identifies what you have and how to make it better.
Design advice, water strategies, vegetable and flower gardens, soil and food needs, and problem solving. Always problem solving.
You'll instantly be a better gardener.
All for just $200 of expert time with a coupon to fill your garden dreams without ever leaving home.
In-home garden consultations from Water's Garden Center.
We can be at your home this week.
you've been listening to Ken Lane, the Mountain Gardener. Green thumbs learned while working in the Family Garden Center. Now welcome back to the Mountain Gardener.
And we are back with Lisa Waterslane in the studio. She comes each week with your garden questions. Just what are your neighbors seeing throughout the neighborhood? And if it's in a neighbor's garden, probably you have the same thing. Because those birds, those bees, those butterflies, the insects, the bunnies, they're all traveling all over the place. And so they just spread throughout a neighborhood. The Javelina, they don't just use one yard, they're working the entire street. So welcome to the studio, Lisa.
Thank you.
Feeling okay? You keeping warm?
Oh yeah. It's not that cold
It's
yet.
for me. We went from 2 weeks ago, a sheet covering you, which I love. I'd go just bare or whatever. I love beaches and just swimsuits and waves. Yes. And then we went to, we need a blanket. And now we need a blanket and a quilt. But the windows are always wide open. So
yes.
At the Lane house, at least.
Yes, I do. I do like the windows open. Yeah.
So
I kind of like it. Get up in the morning. It's cooler. Have my cup of coffee.
Yep.
Snuggle with the dogs. It's all good.
Yeah. Snuggle with your husband, dear. Snuggle. I'll snuggle.
Do you want me to wake you up at 5 a.m.?
Well, sometimes it's like at 4:30. I don't know. No. Okay.
Okay.
Snuggle with me later.
There you go. That's what I thought.
Garden questions. What are you seeing? What's happening? What are people talking about?
So kind of a lot of watering questions. So Randy's question is kind of a good example of what a lot of people are asking. So he's in Prescott Valley. He shut off his irrigation system just with all the rain that we were having. He knows we're going to start drying out, maybe. Maybe start drying out. He wants to know on a landscape that's about 2 years old, moving into fall, how frequently should he be running his irrigation system? Yeah,
so you're probably watering a 2-year-old landscape, maybe once a week. I mean, yes, it's starting to dry out. Maybe we'll still see some rain, but it's cooler, and the days are shorter, so things aren't using moisture like they were. Yeah. And so probably about once a week, give it a good deep soak. Pick a day. We're going to water like it's the growing season through the end of October.
Right.
November, we shift it back to about twice a month. So you're still watering through winter, but you're at least a month and a half out before that happens. And so keep moisture in those landscapes. The fear is those folks that didn't cut back their irrigation. We're hearing stories of 2, 3, 5 inches of moisture in a landscape in a week. That's a lot. So 1 inch of rain will penetrate approximately 6 inches of soil. That's rough math. Okay, if you're up near Granite Mountain or more granity kind of soil, sandy soils, it'll penetrate a little bit further. If it's clay, maybe it's only 5 inches instead of 6. But that's a good way to think about it. So if you had a 10-inch or let's say 5 inches of moisture in a landscape for a week, well, it's penetrated about 10 inches. That's pretty good. Yeah. Even a very deeply rooted tree they're down 24 inches. So it's still not the entire root zone, even though you had major rain. So I would water it at least once a week. I would say it's something you can do right now, Randy, especially in Prescott Valley, because you have had a lot of moisture out there. And no nutrients in your soil. fertilize. You give it some nutrients, some 744. Come see us, get a bag of 744 all-purpose food. It's an organic, granular food. Fertilize everything in the yard, and it's going to bring out that color. It'll make those aspens, the maples pop at them. It'll green up those evergreens so they really have that rich blue, rich greens. That's going to be probably even more important, those folks out in the valley areas, than water.
Okay. So, yes, not time to stop watering.
No. In November. Wait till November.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. Okay. So our next question is from this one's from Jennifer out in Chino.
Jennifer. Hey, Jennifer.
So she has a chain link fence. She wants to put something on to kind of get a screen between her and a neighbor. She was told the only evergreen that likes full sun would be honeysuckle.
Okay.
And so she just wanted to know if you had any other suggestions.
Well, I love it when women ask me suggestions. Thank you, Jennifer. There's a couple. So honeysuckle is the number one seller. Yes. Okay. Takes full sun, takes that wind that you have out there. But there's also another one called Echobeckia. Echobeckia is a very strong, very fast, almost
too fast
sometimes grower that would do really well if you've got a chain link fence that's got partially sun and partially shade. Let's say there's a tree there and it only gets morning sun, then afternoon shade. Another classic is English ivy. You can put that out there. It doesn't like full sun in summer with that wind that you got out there, but it will take a lot of sun. It just gets a little burned in the summer, June, July, before the monsoons come, and then it's glorious. So if you got any shade at all, north side of your house, you could take a section of it, go English ivy, then go a section and go honeysuckle, then go a section and go Echobeckia, and it would be beautiful. Advice I can give you is don't go plant one, then another different one, then another different one. Think in odd numbers, take 3 honeysuckles and put them one per 8-foot section, then change it to honeysuckle 1 per 8-foot section, then change it to 1 per 8-foot section of Echobeckia. That way you get blocks of beautiful vines showing up, and it will look more natural, more like a secret garden than it is than just haphazard. I don't know, just something I've seen that seems to work for folks.
Okay.
Any suggestion? Anything you got?
For evergreen, it's hard. There's lots of really great vines, but they go dormant in wintertime.
Yeah, most of them do. So the most famous of them here locally is trumpet vine. It's got that great big red flower that hummingbirds just love. So that's one that you could do and sprinkle it in there, but it is deciduous, but don't commit the whole row. Just have some green, then put some flowering things, and then put some more green. So there's a way, especially those big properties out there. She's probably talking 100 feet of vine or fence. So 1 per every 8 foot or 1 per panel seems to be a pretty good mix for most of your vines.
Right. Okay. So Ava, so this was the other question. Ava was.
We can screen that out. No, this is live.
It's towards the end of the day.
Where's
I'm
the
tired.
Button?
It's been a long day.
Do mumble button.
We need a mumble. I need a mumble button. Okay, so Ava Prescott feels like some of her spruce and pine have just kind of faded in color. They just don't have that big rich color that she's come to expect. How would you go about getting that color, that richness back in? Yeah,
what happens is, especially your evergreens are more sensitive. So you've had a lot of rain, you've irrigated more than usual. And so it has flushed all those nutrients that you've had wherever you're at, Ava, that's flushed all those nutrients out of the ground. And evergreens really benefit from minerals. So they really like iron and sulfur and aluminum and magnesium. They really benefit from these. So 2 things. 1, get a well-balanced food that has your minor trace elements. I would suggest, but I'm very biased because I know local gardening and I made my own food for us. It's all-purpose plant food. It's cottonseed meal, it's bird guano, and all of those nutrients that we're talking about. It brings that color out. It's amazing how it works. Evergreens think they've died and gone to heaven. It's like a steak and potato for evergreens. But in addition, if you really want that rich silver coming out of those Colorado spruce, the bright colors of that bright blue coming from those Arizona cypress. In addition, at the same time, do this right now. So now before Halloween, fertilize with that all-purpose plant food and aluminum sulfate. Oh, they love aluminum. So it's actually aluminum. Plants will actually absorb it, and they'll put a coating, this real rich, deep, kind of three-dimensional color over the foliage that gives it that rich color. And it'll look like a brand new plant at least by next spring. So that new growth next spring is going to be, whoa! I can't believe those mountain gardeners. What were their names? Where are they from again?
They're so smart.
It'll be amazing. But all-purpose plant food, aluminum sulfate will be game changer. So Jeff, good questions this week.
Yeah.
So Ken and Lisa Lane, the Mountain Gardeners, will be back with more right after this.
You're listening to Ken Lane, a.k.a. the Mountain Gardener. Ken can be found throughout the week in Prescott at Waters Garden Center. Listen each week as he answers timely garden questions unique to mountain gardens.
Waters Garden companion plants for September are Russian sage, Pampas grass, honeysuckle, and raywood ash.
Raywoods are superior shade trees for wind and drought locations.
Plant as a single specimen or in a grove for more widespread shade on hot south and western exposures.
Dark green foliage forms the perfect round head with leaves that turn a magical wine red through autumn.
We sell only the prettiest shade trees at Waters Garden Center. Shop in-store or online at watersgardencenter.com.
We believe you're never too old to set new goals or have new dreams at Waters Garden Center. If new neighbors are encroaching on your privacy, we have just the solution.
At Waters, we have an entire section of thick, bold plants dedicated to privacy.
Fall is a time to plant a new privacy hedge, and we're here as advisors.
Take a quick measurement and snap a picture before you come visit, and you'll quickly be living in privacy once again.
Plus, our team of experts know how to plant to increase plant growth next spring. We'll show you how or do all the planting work for you.
Waters Garden Center. We know privacy in your backyard. You've been listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Join the conversation every week as he answers timely garden questions. Email Ken a question directly from your phone to his desktop through the web at watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Now welcome back your host, Ken Lane.
So when you're planting fall, it's a good time to plant. The soil is very warm. I'd say it's even a peak time. We're coming into a time when you start to plant trees. You start new lawns through October. This is like the best time to start a brand new lawn or overseed or extend your mowable type of grasses. So lawns. It's a time that you fertilize. You put things to bed. You help them to slow down off this summer high. Things have been growing like crazy. Now they're starting to grow roots like that. Before they were growing foliage, now they're growing roots. It's time to fertilize those things. It's also time to decorate, planting like pansies, kale, snapdragons, all that fall, wintry kind of plants, flowers. You can have flowers here in the mountains, this central highland area at least. I don't know about Flagstaff, gets colder. Williams is definitely colder. White Mountains, you all are definitely colder. But here in the Central Highlands, Kingman, over to Prescott, Skull Valley, over towards Cottonwood, Sedona, back towards Payson, that area, this Central Highlands area, this 3,500, 5,500, 6,000 foot level, we can have flowers year round. We can have edibles. We can harvest from our gardens year round. You just have to work with the seasons. You have to change things out. And now is the time when you're changing things out. So those zinnias that are starting to fade, if they even look remotely off, pull them out of the ground and replace them with something that's a winter bloomer. Your fall and winter flowers, Johnny jump ups, violas, pansies, flowering stalks. Mums are perennials. They come back year after year. Put some of those in the gardens. If you're planting trees and shrubs, we just had, 100 red maples show up. They are perfect. They're gorgeous because they're going to go into color here in a couple of weeks, and there'll be this run on them. People will just go, whoa, what is that? I want one of those. And so we're gearing up and getting ready for them. So we just had some 20-foot maples show up, and these are expensive trees. They sold like that, all 4 of them, instantly. We just got another 100, like 5 to 10 gallon sizes. These are the medium-sized trees. So when you're planting those, this is a good time. Be assured. This is to reassure you folks from the deserts. You're going, oh, I don't know. It's going to be cold soon. But maples, they like the cold. It's good for them. And so there's virtually no transplant shock when you put them in this time of year, yet lots of root growth. So it's a really good time. If you're planting now, though, you just have to commit to watering those trees, those new plants, at least twice a month. If you're doing that right through winter, January, we just had 6 inches of snow 2 weeks ago. It's beautiful out right now. I feel like going outside. I'm going to commit to watering those trees at least 2 times a month, by hand if you need to. Just water them so that will keep them alive and activate those leaf buds so they take off with new growth next spring. You can plant. Also, our soil is not very nice here, so don't just chuck a tree or a shrub, or don't just put things in the ground. You actually have to do some work. You have to, the planting hole, the depth of that new tree or shrub should be the same depth as your bucket. Whatever that root size, that's how deep the hole needs to be. But it needs to be 3 times as wide and kind of saucer shaped. It should look like a bowl when you get all done. So 3 times the width, same depth, and then add all that dirt that comes out of that particular hole, screen it. Don't let anything bigger than a golf ball go back in. The bigger chunks, bigger rocks, granite, roots, debris, as those things heat up in summer, they almost bake the roots. So you want to screen that out. You want smaller particles that hold more water molecules around that root ball in the heat of summer. So you might have to do a lot of work. Some of you are going to hit a boulder and go, oh my gosh, there's no soil left. You might have to bring in some topsoil to help supplement and bring that soil back up. When you've got all that dirt screened, you need to add some organic. So that's mulch. You want to add composted mulch, this is compost, into that native earth. So you want to keep it from compacting back down and becoming rock hard. So there, you're adding about 25%, maybe 50% mulch to your native earth, or about 1 scoop of mulch for 3 scoops of native soil, and blend that all together. And that's what you're going to use to backfill around that root ball as you set that new maple tree or spruce or pine in that hole. It's a good time to plant those. Pack that soil right around, water it in real good, and then sprinkle some all-purpose plant food. This is a slow-release organic. I think you should use that over the entire yard, but especially new plants. Sprinkle some of this on, and every time it snows or rains or you irrigate, a little bit of food will release around that root ball. It encourages stronger, deeper roots. When you're all done, water it in with Root and Grow. This is a compost tea that we brew up here at Waters Garden Center. It looks like compost tea. That's what it is. But plants love it. They start to root out even stronger when you do that. And I would do that at least 2 to 3 times. So I'd follow Root and Grow at first. It's a concentrate. You add it to your water. And then I would follow up in about 2 weeks, and maybe in a month, do it again. And so 3 times. And then you'll never put the Root and Grow on again. Now the food is doing its work. And that's how you plant things. It's that easy. So I just described whenever you buy a tree or shrub from us here in Prescott, we're going to give you a handout that shows you how to do that. Every single plant goes, a vine, a tree, a shrub, gets our planting guide. And that's how you put a plant in your yard this fall.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for timely garden advice right for higher elevations. Guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
Stress melts away with water's finest quality plants, curated for a better night's sleep.
Imagine a 5-star sleep experience waiting for you every night at home.
Bask in the comfort of these plants as they absorb harmful chemicals and pollen.
Purifying bedroom air, creating your own living oxygen tent, as refreshing as a forest rain.
A good night's rest starts at Waters Garden Center. Natural, safe, organic.
Waters Garden Center in Prescott, also found on the web at top10houseplants.com.
Waters Garden companion plants for September are Pampas grass, honeysuckle, raywood ash, and lacy blue Russian sage.
Lacy blue Russian sage is a Waters preferred perennial for its compact form that doesn't flop over in the landscape like others.
The spiky blue flowers bloom summer through fall with aromatic foliage detestable to all animals.
Simply stunning at the edge of dry stream beds mixed with wildflowers.
Shop in-store or online at watersgardencenter.com.
You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening is very rewarding, with a few of Ken's tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts sure to turn your thumbs even greener. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
And back with Lisa Waters Lane in the studio. She comes each week with just garden tips, tricks, and garden hacks that you can beautify your yard with.
Hack?
Hack. Maybe that's kind of an old term. Anyway, those I see you bringing a lot of flowers. The studio smells delicious. Or is that you, my dear?
I'm sure it's me after a full day working in the
might be
outside.
As long as I'm right next to you, working with you. So
There you go.
anyway, we are outdoors. We do get dirty hands, and you have dirty hands. Ooh, okay. Anyway, we're garden center owners that have a podcast or a radio show. So what do you got for us this week?
So it's time to start thinking about replacing some of those summer plants. Like I was in our backyard and I noticed some of our zinnias, which had been looking fabulous, all of a sudden just started looking like bleh.
Yeah,
So
mildew in short days. It doesn't like either one. They're like bright hot heat.
Bright hot days. So some, we need to replace some of those pots. Some are looking good, but we definitely need to get out there and get some new color into some of those pots that need a refreshing. So one of the ones that I love for our area is the Snapdragon. So this is one of the
Snapdragon. The face with that.
It's a Snapdragon.
If only you could watch this on the video. But tune in to the vlog. It's pretty entertaining.
So Snapdragons are one of those wonderful cool season plants. A lot of people plant them in the spring. But we're very fortunate that we can put them again in the fall. So this particular one is a mix that we had specially grown for us. You done?
No, having fun with the camera.
So this one we had specially grown. So it's a mix. So it has white, yellow, pink, kind of a dark burgundy in there as well. So, but they also come in just straight colors. So you can get them in white, just yellow, just pink, just red. But I kind of like the mix. It's really,
I do too.
Really
it's pretty.
Yeah.
Especially in a container or raised bed, just where maybe you don't have quite as much room. That just looks good.
Yeah.
I like this one because the Javelina, everything has a more ferocious, they just are eating, the bunnies are eating stuff.
Getting ready
Squirrels
for winter.
are out. They're trying to fatten up. And the Javelina are out.
Yeah.
And none of these things, the mammals that are roaming around at night in your yard looking to devour things, they don't like the taste of Snapdragons. They leave them alone. Yet they're beautiful. They look delicious. They smell good, but animals don't bother them. So if you've got issues with
the critters,
elk, deer, and antelope anymore, they don't seem to bother those.
Right.
And it's a wildflower.
Yeah.
It'll reseed across the yard. It's amazing.
Oh, I was walking through our backyard yesterday, had the dogs and the cat out. So I'm walking around. we have Snapdragons coming up everywhere. It's very pretty. I enjoy it. But they'll come back 2 or 3 years. They'll drop seed and come back. So it's just a really nice plant for here.
I call those our backyard drift of wild flowers, and Snapdragons are a core. I notice tomatoes are coming up everywhere. Kind of everything's coming up everywhere.
It is.
Those little asters are coming up.
It's a jungle back there. So we let our cat, we don't let the cat out all the time. He's not an outdoor cat, but we let him go explore. But I have to keep an eye on him because I don't want him jumping the fence. Right now, our backyard is so lush and full that I literally lose the cat.
Where is he?
I tell the dogs, go find the kitty. But
pretty.
Very, very pretty. Another one I like to mix with it. Now, this one is not Javelina resistant and all that, but they're just wonderful little plants. So this is the Viola. Sorry.
Johnny
Another
Jump
brand.
Ups are the old
Johnny
school
Jumps
name.
Up, Violas. It's another one, just loves the cool season. It will even go through the winter for you and bloom again in the spring. It's just a wonderful little plant, great in containers, similar to the pansy.
Yeah. It's related. It's a cousin of the pansy.
Mm-hmm. Pansies have the bigger head to them. Violas have the smaller head. These often will free seed as well.
Yeah,
you can
they
find
will.
them different places. So another really good cool season plant to put into your containers right now, but make sure if you've got critters, you probably don't want to go with that one unless it's up high where they can't get.
So the Midwest folks, they think of pansies, violas, kale, mums as annuals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's your late summer, early fall. You put them in the ground and you fully expect for them to die in like by the end of the year.
Right.
Because it gets so cold.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you move to Arizona. It's no longer that kind of deep freeze. These will bloom January, February, March,
Mm-hmm.
April, May, first part of June, and they finally go, it's too hot, and they collapse. They like our mountain cold,
Mm-hmm.
and they're fantastic. And mix and match them with kales and ornamental Johnny Jump Ups and pansies and snapdragons. Mm-hmm. Look at these together. Let's just show that off on the camera. These go together. What goes together? Yeah.
So those are very, very pretty. I also brought in, there's a new Echobeckia. This is a new Echobeckia called Cherry Brandy. So just a really dark kind of burgundy red blossom on it. Very, very pretty. Yeah, we have other Echobeckias in too, but this was brand new variety. So I thought I'd bring it in and show it off.
Moonlight red or some velvet. It's like Elvis would wear it or something. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's got a flower about the size, about 4 inches across, maybe 5. Mm-hmm. Great big eye to it, like a Rudbeckia. Mm-hmm. It's got a great big flower to it, like an echinacea. Right. Thus, the combo name. They blended the two together. Echobeckia, the two things. But you never see reds like this or that dark. Almost like a black red.
It is.
What color is that?
It's cherry brandy.
Cherry. As a man, I don't know what that is. Cherry brandy.
I don't either, but that's what they called it. So I brought it. So we do have other Rudbeckias and Echobeckias. This is a great late summer plant into fall, blooms consistently for you. Pretty animal resistant as well. So great from pots, great in your perennial beds, just real pretty. So
full sun. It's going to hibernate underground like a perennial, and then it'll come back fresh from its roots. Whereas snapdragons, they're going to stop blooming about, Christmas. Yeah. And then you'll trim off those heads, those seed heads, trim up. They're still green up top. Mm-hmm. Doesn't ever hibernate underground. No. Then it starts to reseed or rebloom from that top green growth. Right. Violas, they never hibernate underground. They keep green. Mm-hmm. In fact, they'll keep that flower. Like you'll have a 3-inch snow, and then it'll just bury the plant, and then you'll see little flowers popping through, and they'll just enjoy. They almost celebrate. They like that chillness. Mm-hmm. Some of your friends love just everything about winter. Like they're roaming around. It's January. It's 18 degrees. They're in shorts, flip-flops, or a t-shirt. They're happy. They're violas. Right. That's what violas love to do. They're the same. They're just like people. Plants are like people.
Imagine that. So some of the other things that we've gotten in, if people want to check things out that just look beautiful this time of year, a lot of the ornamental grasses. So we probably have 6 or 7 varieties of ornamental grasses right now. Which do wonderfully here. We're like the perfect climate for the ornamental grasses. We've got a lot of different ones from shorties to big tall. So definitely something to check out. And the other thing we've gotten in is the Eye Sumac.
Ooh, neat. Is it going into color yet?
It is.
Oh, cool.
It is. So Eye Sumac has a beautiful, beautiful orangey red fall color to it. It's one of those plants, very drought hardy.
It's a native.
Right. No critters eat it. Very animal resistant. And we have it in our backyard, kind of around the pond, and it has kind of spread. It's a spreader, right?
Yeah, I kind of keep it in check. Take a shovel to the head like a rattlesnake or something. You're not allowed to come up over there. Move it. So I keep them around where I want them. Mm-hmm. And so it's easy to maintain. They're super easy to maintain.
Oh, they are.
I never water them.
Not a lot of maintenance.
I mean, you just abuse them, kick dirt at them, curse at them.
Yeah.
They grow more.
They do.
And they do well.
Yeah. So tiger eye, that probably gets what, 4 feet?
Yeah, hip high or so.
Right.
Maybe 3 feet, something like that. They're
And
short.
we did get some raywoods in, raywwood ash. We've been trying to find those. So that's another pretty
Finally.
fall color tree, real pretty burgundy color to it in the
Trucks
fall.
have been lining up down the street in front of my office. We're loading up for that winter fall color.
Yeah.
Come in and take a look. It is a good time to plant. Ken and Lisa Lane here at Waters Garden Center and the Mountain Gardeners. We'll be right back after this.
Look for more tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts through Ken's website. Podcast the show, read his weekly garden column, or follow him on Facebook and Instagram at watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com.
Hi, Ken with the showy grass of the week and our forester feathergrass.
The slightest monsoon breeze can cause this showy grass to gracefully sway in the landscape.
High fashion, stylish, wow, have all described this hip-high grass. No wonder it's been voted perennial of the year.
And for the florist, the feathery plumes make great cut flowers, and all for just $36.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love showy feathergrass, they love to shop. Hi, Ken with the plants of the week and our fire alarm, red mums.
With a name like Fire Alarm, you'd expect large red blooms that take a fire hose to put the glowing petals out.
Just provide a little garden soil for a flaming red that will last and last.
But wait, there's more. This Fire Alarm mum comes back again for even bigger show next year and just $3.99.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love red mums, they love to shop.
Welcome to the Mountain Gardener with Ken Lane. Gardening in the mountains is different. Listen to Ken's tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts guaranteed to make your gardens more beautiful than ever this year. Now for better advice that works locally, welcome your host, Ken Lane.
Okay, we are back in the studio, and one of the beauties of having a studio right here at the Garden Center in your office, where you can just get interesting characters. And I would say Andy's a character. He knows stuff about growing plants and killing bugs and making weeds go away. So Andy Dannenberger is the senior sales manager. He controls the western half of the country for Fertilizing, VPG, Natural Guard. Did I describe that even remotely correctly?
You did. You did a pretty good job.
That right.
So it's Fertilizing, Natural Guard, and High Yield.
High
brands.
Yield. I'm sorry. Yeah, we sell all three here at the Garden
You
Center,
do.
and we like it because Fertilizing it's a co-op. So we're like one of the owners
Exactly.
of that company.
All of our nurseries and garden centers and lawn and garden distributors are patron owners of our company.
Patron owners.
Yeah.
So we get together and formed this organization, and now you listen to us, whereas Scott's doesn't listen to us. All these other big companies, they don't care who we are. They're going after the box stores. You all actually are supporting the independent, smaller garden centers.
Precisely. We've been doing it for 52 years. Our 3 brands are exclusive to independent nurseries and garden centers.
Yeah. So now tell us about yourself, Andy. How long have you been in the business? Why are you still in the business? What's your passions? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, well, I have been in the lawn and garden business probably since about 15 and a half years old with a work permit.
Okay.
Working in a nursery and garden center just like this at Waters Garden Center. So I fell in this industry pretty quick, and then I loved it so much that I studied horticulture in college. Got a degree in that, and then later in business from a 4-year institution. But I have been in all different kinds of capacities. I've been a senior horticulturist at the San Diego Zoo.
Oh, I did not know that. That's cool.
that was a lot of fun. I did that for about 5 to 6 years. I worked as a lawn and garden distributor rep in San Diego County. Worked from different manufacturers, and then the past 8 years I've been with Fertilizing, High Yield, and Natural Garden. Absolutely love it because I believe in independent nurseries and garden centers, educating them and doing the right things. So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And so Andy's here training us, getting our staff to be sort of just product knowledge. What's new coming up next year? What are we going to see? What's the supply chain looking like? There's going to be price increases. We know that. We've already seen that. You don't have to warn us.
Yeah,
you could have sent us a text.
Yeah, inflation is among us. I apologize, but raw materials are hard to come by, and if they are there, they're more and more and more. And so, but we're doing good. We're in production now for the season. Our fill rate is really good, and our dealers are really happy with what we've been doing. Not a lot of new products because we're just trying to keep up with what we have been doing now. So what we're trying to do is try to do our best of what we normally do, and not try to oversaturate ourselves in producing too much that will interfere with the supply chain.
Yeah, I've been happy with the fill rates. Happy with, we had to convert a few sizes or whatever, but you've kept up amazingly well. So we're pleased. So here in Prescott, Arizona, Waters Garden Center, we're pleased. A new product that you brought out this year was called Decimate. So weeds, so the mountains, we've had a lot of rain. Arizona, a lot of rain. This is broadcast throughout northern Arizona, southern Phoenix, or North Phoenix. So weeds are everywhere. People are complaining, but you've got a product that came out, which I scooped up and went, anything besides Roundup. I'll sell anything besides Roundup. If we can go organics, it's even better, but you came out with Decimate, which is not a glyphosate. So it's not, doesn't cause tumors coming outside your side of your face. No. Doesn't kill the dog. Birds are not going to drop from the sky like Roundup will. Glyphosates are dangerous. We're finding more and more. Decimate doesn't do that, but it's still similar. So you mix it up in a spray can.
Correct.
And then you spray the top of the weed, and it dies, the root and all. So tell us about that technology. How did you come up with that? How does it work? So enlighten us.
Right. So Decimate weed and grass killer works, and you spray it the exact same way as you do with other herbicides. It's called Decimate because you want to do what? Decimate your weeds.
Stuff, yeah.
Exactly. So you mix a few ounces per gallon of water in a tank sprayer, and you spray your weeds. Obviously, you want to do that in the middle of the day when it's warm and sunny. That's when it activates and works the best. You'll see results in a matter of days, and it kills the weeds right down to the root. Now, this is a weed and grass killer, so anything you spray it on will kill anything. So you want to use it around the cracks and corners of your house, your driveway, walkways, rock yards, things like that to kill weeds. And I'm really excited about this here in Arizona because you guys have gotten a lot of rain. The monsoons came through. They've been very favorable for you. But the unfortunate thing is now you have weeds.
Weeds everywhere. So, even if you had the weed fabric down below the rock, you still have weeds. We're telling folks, I have found, because I've used a lot of it here at the garden center, it's how we keep it all weed-free in the landscapes or in the garden center. And we're mixing the spreader sticker. There's a wetting agent that you all make.
Correct, yeah.
In the same container. So we got a backpack sprayer. We mixed the Decimate with the spreader sticker, and I notice it kills faster. Mm-hmm. You don't have to wait till in the middle of the heat of the day. You can go at the end of the day when it's cooler, and you still get the same. You actually get better knockdown.
Yeah,
How does that work?
Better results. So, like what you said, Ken, spreader sticker is a surfactant, and when you mix that with the herbicide, it makes it work better. It actually helps it stick to the leaf surface to where it allows the Decimate enter the leaf better and faster, and then you'll have better results.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's good. Good to know. So, and it's more concentrated. So
it's more concentrated. It's 24.5. The Decimate is 24.5%, and like I said, it's a few ounces per gallon of water. So you don't. It goes pretty much a long way. And it's glufosinate. I don't know if you want to get into the whole glyphosate, glufosinate, but
we don't
it is
get the molecules and stuff. It's safer than Roundup's good.
we just kind of say, you know what? It's that glyphosate alternative that's better for you and for your house and your kids and family and everybody else. So.
It's a little bit more expensive, but not per gallon when you mix it up. So you're using less of it per it's concentrated.
Correct.
So it's actually a better value especially for larger yards. I mean, you're not going to spray once and done. You're going to spray every week to keep up with weeds as much rain as we've had.
Right.
Now, I've also been telling folks about at least twice a year, put down weed and grass stopper.
Right.
to keep the weeds from coming up. Can you explain to us just how does that work?
Yeah, you carry a product called High Yield Turf and Ornamental Weed and Grass Stopper. The active ingredient is called Dimension. Not a big deal for y'all, but Weed and Grass Stopper is an herbicide or a product that you apply. It's granular, so you apply it like a fertilizer, and it prevents weeds from germinating. So what it does is it creates a little kind of like a gaseous layer at the top inch of the surface of the soil and prevents any weeds from germinating. So it gets to that little layer and then stops the weeds from germinating. If the soil gets disturbed, you'll have to reapply. Gotcha. But it's a great product to apply, especially early spring. Is a really, really good time. You can do multiple applications throughout the year, but best time is early spring. That prevents any of those weeds coming up in the springtime.
Now, how far down? So you put that down at recommended rate. How far down into the soil does that
You
penetrate?
actually do not have to agitate it. You apply it right on the top surface of the soil, and then you water it in, and then it creates that little layer of barrier to prevent any weed seeds from germinating. All kinds of weeds.
So I've been telling folks, kill the weeds that are coming up, because you obviously don't have any weed and grass stopper down. Kill those with Decimate, but then apply on top of that the weed and grass stopper to prevent, because you've got more weeds waiting to come up. So if you got a weed problem, put the weed and grass stopper down whenever, and then kill off the weeds that are there with Decimate. As tag team, going all marine on them.
Absolutely.
So that seems like that would be.
Yeah,
that's worked for me. Is that good advice?
That makes sense. That's the recommendations for everybody. You want to prevent them, and then any existing weeds, you want to kill them with Decimate.
Yeah, love it. That's good. Decimate, weed and grass stopper. Andy, senior sales rep. You control the western half from California
I do.
over to. Do you go to Oklahoma or?
I don't. I have 7 other field reps that work in different regions, but I'm responsible for them administratively.
Gotcha.
I do help them out with trade shows and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, it's a good team, and we're a team effort, and we try to do our best for all of our independent nurseries.
Fertilome, VPG, and Natural Guard, great products that support little guys. We encourage you to buy their products through Waters Garden Centers.
Exactly.
Kind of how it works.
This is where the experts are, because you're not going to find one at a mass merchant, let me tell you.
Thank you, Eddie. Right back after this. Don't change that dial. You're listening to the Mountain Gardener.
You're listening to local garden expert Ken Lane, the owner of Waters Garden Center. He can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center, located in Prescott at 1815 Iron Springs Road. Thanks for tuning in to the Mountain Gardener.
Hi, Ken with the Showy Grass of the Week and our Forester Feathergrass.
The slightest monsoon breeze can cause this showy grass to gracefully sway in the landscape.
High fashion, stylish, wow, have all described this hip-high grass. No wonder it's been voted Perennial of the Year.
And for the florist, the feathery plumes make great cut flowers, and all for just $36.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love showy feathergrass, they love to shop.
We believe your dad would be proud of your gardens. At Waters Garden Center,
Hi, Ken with the Plants of the Week and our Fire Alarm Red Mums.
with a name like Fire Alarm, you'd expect large red blooms that take a fire hose to put the glowing petals out.
Just provide a little garden soil for a flaming red that will last and last.
But wait, there's more. This Fire Alarm Mum comes back again for even bigger show next year and just $3.99.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love red mums, they love to shop.
You've tuned in to the Mountain Gardener with local garden expert Ken Lane. Join him each week as he answers timely garden questions that are sure to make a difference in your gardens. Now welcome your host, Ken Lane.
All right, so as we wrap this thing up, fall, it's here. Your plants, they're in heaven. They're actually starting to hibernate. So you're seeing some color show up. It's early yet, but you'll see like your Virginia creepers, the maples will start to show color. Aspens will be right behind that. And so it's normal. This is when plants put on much of their root formation under the ground. So they're hibernating. They're taking all that photosynthesis and they're storing that up. So from here through about Thanksgiving or so, these plants are soaking up every last ounce of sunshine, and they're storing that up into their root structure. So that's why it's such a good time. That's why they say fall is for planting. This is your best time to plant. Especially big trees, big shrubs, hedgerows. That's true. It is a very good time because you're getting that increased root formation that you don't really get in the spring of the year. So you'll get a better foundation next spring. You'll get more growth. You get a full-on spring growth pattern, especially for spruce, pine, cypress, cedars, junipers, these evergreens. They really take advantage of that. So it's a great time to plant. We do have some classes that help you figure out which plants are best this week. So starting this Saturday, the 17th, we've got easy to grow mountain plants. What are the easiest to grow of all the plants? That's what we're going to cover. I'm teaching that one personally. Next week, the 24th, so every Saturday at 9:30, we have privacy screens and the secret garden. So if someone's just put up a wall or they're building behind your house or you're seeing a bunch of dust come in, how do we screen out and use plants to screen that out? So we'll go over hedges and bigger trees, fastest growing, which ones screen the fastest, how many do you need, what's the spacing, how do you plant them to get the most? But now's your time. October 1, that's the one I'm really excited about. That's the fall to-do list. And we are into fertilizing season. You really do need to increase you'll fertilize more here than you do in other parts of the country. And this is the most important feeding of the entire year. Let me this is the most important feeding of the entire year. This autumn time. So now between now and Halloween, you really do need to fertilize everything in the landscape, including your natives. So I would say you've got such an opportunity to take advantage to get those native ponderosas, pinyon pines, junipers healthier. You should fertilize those. And if you do, they'll hibernate better, stronger. They'll give you better growth next spring, and they'll be able to take on the insects better than they have in the past. So it's really critical. If you even dream of having fruit next spring, if you want lilacs and forsythia and quince and rhododendrons and azaleas and hydrangeas, all those spring bloomers, if you want spring flowers, you need to fertilize in the fall. It's using this food and you're using that 7-4-4 all-purpose plant food. When do you fertilize? When do you, how often, how much? When do you prune? How do you keep weeds down in winter? We're covering all that October 1st at the fall to-do list. You do it now in October. You got a window, but you do it now, and it plays out on your benefit throughout the winter next spring season. This is really critical for you folks with brand new houses. You got brand new landscapes. You kind of want them to mature faster. Well, that class, October 1st. Take a look at all of those at watersgardencenter.com. You'll see a garden class button right up front, or if you're a Facebooker, you're going to look at the events tab. You Facebook folks, you know what to do. Ken and Lisa Lane here at Waters Gardens. Throughout the week, we just camp out here doing this all week long. Love talking to fans of the show.
If you want a more fruitful garden, increased success in your landscape that just feels better, then tune in every week to The Mountain Gardener. Years of tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts are guaranteed to make your gardens nicer than ever. Listen to this podcast or read Ken's weekly garden column by visiting watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Thanks for tuning in.